Hello! Welcome to the 8th Owlboy anniversary.
Yeah.
Why does this happen every year?
I don't know. I don't know how to do introductions. Maybe we should redo it.
Last year, I think I said 6th.
Yeah.
And then we corrected it off screen. Somehow we managed to find a completely different angle for every single one of these live streams. I mean, we've had a lot of fun previous years and a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
I think our first one was the 3rd anniversary, and then it just got weird from there. So, 2024, what have we been up to?
Well, it's been kind of a quiet year. We've been doing a lot of porting for Savant, and as always, it's more work than we intended to actually put down into it, but it's finally getting ready. So, while we've been working on a port, we've also updated, Savant Descent Remix on Steam, added some content, we've done some competitions and stuff, and yeah, that's really it this year.
Yeah, 2024 has been, I think that's a good way of putting it. It has been kind of our quiet year. For the most part, when we finished Savant Descent Remix last year, most people aren't able to see behind the scenes because, well, it's behind the scenes. But we've been working continuously now for about 8 years straight on a ton of different projects. And essentially, we realized we needed a break. So 2024 has been not as busy as previous years so that we can prepare for 2025. And 2025 is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
But we're not here just to talk about what we have been doing. We are going to be talking about what we have been doing years ago, specifically answering questions about Owlboy that you have been sending in, and general questions about the studio and what we've been up to. So we'll start going through your questions now. Joe, if you would.
Here's a question from Lily Draws. Do you guys still have a plan for an Owlboy art book?
Yes. Yeah, no, we get this question fairly often. We really want to make one. It's about just making sure that we know that people really want this thing.
Yeah, actually, we started discussing it back when we did the limited edition as well, because that was kind of going to be one of the things included in it. But we figured out that it's going to be such a huge undertaking, all of your sketches and stuff. You needed to compile them somehow, right?
Yeah, that's actually been the biggest problem. I cannot understate how big of a project this is, because we've been working on this project for the better half of a decade. And on top of that, a lot of it's not sorted. You would think that all of this would be exactly where you need it to be, and most of it is in just like the same group of folders. The thing is, when you're working on projects and you're sort of reiterating everything that you're doing, sometimes you'll have one like Photoshop file or something, and there's like 60 different iterations of one thing in there. That one file is maybe like 500 megabytes, and it takes ages to go out and pull all of those out there. And it's not just grabbing a source file, because you have to remember, we worked on stuff when things were in standard definition. Resolutions were not as big as they were now. Then you have to pull those out, blow them up, and then clean them up and put them in a layout.
Yeah, because it's got to look good as well.
Yeah, so sorting that out has taken quite a while. But I can say that the work has started. So there is actually an art book in progress. Just can't announce when it's going to be. But I'll say the same thing that I say every time we get this question. If you actually want an art book and you're really passionate about that, please let us know, because then we can put that as our priority moving forward.
Yeah, I would even like to see some of your offshoot Owlboy stuff. You know, like the London poster that you did for Minecon back in the day. You also did those Animal Crossing Owlboy sketches, which were really awesome, and having all of those in a book would be amazing.
There's also all the production art.
Yeah.
There's quite a few characters, especially side characters on one hand, that we never had the chance to show the public, but also the design sketches for some side characters that haven't gotten a lot of screen time, even though they're very important to the game at large. So that would be nice.
Yeah. Okay, question from Unknown. What weapon would Otus choose to use?
You know, this is a really interesting question because it actually goes a little bit into how the universe works.
Yeah.
If I was going to answer this question as what would Otus use that would work in the context of his universe, the thing about the Owlboy universe is that they don't really use projectile weaponry or anything that's throwable. Because the truth is, if you live on floating islands and you throw something, you lose it.
Yeah.
It's not coming back. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's like a boomerang or something. You'll miss, and then it'll go careening off a cliff, and then you'll never see it again. So you'll notice all of the characters use some kind of projectile-based weapon that's either like energy-based or flame-based or something like that.
Yeah.
There are some exceptions, of course. For example, Alphonse uses bullet casings, which fall out, but couldn't really help ourselves. It looked neat. But generally speaking, they try to avoid that. And for a lot of weapons around the area, I would assume that, let's say that you have a battleship or something like that. If they're not being completely wasteful, like the pirates are, they would probably fire out something like a chain or something that they would then retract and then do it again. For a lot of weapons that Otus would use, on one hand, Otus is kind of clumsy with things. He's good at carrying things, and he's good at flying, but he's not so good at like swinging a sword or something. And if you imagine him holding a sharp object, he would probably cut his cloak.
Yeah, that's exactly why I envision him using just a stick.
A stick?
Yeah, like in Zelda, you know. In Ocarina of Time, you could use like a stick.
True. I guess you could drop a stick, but then again, like he would be able to catch it. He would be one of the few people that would be able to catch it.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking, which is kind of a strange answer, I think Otus might use some sort of chain-based weapon. Maybe not a whip, but maybe like a ball and chain, or like
Castlevania style.
Yeah, because he would be coordinated enough to keep his wings away from it for being wrapped up, and he can use his like air mobility to sort of move around and whip that around more so than I think someone standing on the ground would be able to.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, it's a very awkward weapon to do kind of this thing with. But imagine if you're levitating. All of a sudden, you can just be like an air drill that just knocks everything around.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be my answer if we're like, what would be practical within the universe? If we're talking about Otus as a character, I don't think he would be coordinated enough for any of that.
No.
And he would probably do what he does in the game, which is like picks up a rock and then he throws it at someone.
I don't know, ever since you did that April's Fool's drawing of Otus, where it's like the owlcalypse, you've drawn him with like a beefed up body and and a shotgun. That's kind of what I imagined.
Yeah.
Owlboy 2.
Owlboy
The
2.
Revenge. Yeah.
I mean, Alphonse has a musket.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not unheard.
Not far out.
I just don't, like, it just doesn't work in my...
No. No. Otus is a pacifist, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Question from Anonymous. What about console release of Savant Descent Remix? Will it ever arrive? Yes!
Yes, it will! In fact, if you look at the Switch store page, you'll see that there's a listing for Savant Descent Remix.
Yes.
The work is finally complete, and you can actually go and pre-order the game right now. And if you do pre-order, it'll be 15% off as well.
It launches on December the 5th.
Thank you so much for being so patient with us. The Switch version is finally ready, and I hope you enjoy.
From Soul Error, character design-wise, were the characters designed with their pixel art form in mind?
You know what? Yes. Initially, like, a lot of you have already seen the very early sketches that I made on my nightstand while I still lived at home, I think, where I just had this idea of Otus, and I drew him. He wasn't perfectly formed at that point, but he was very close. And then later I drew a sort of updated sketch of him, and it was much closer to how he looks in his final iteration. But I mean, I've mentioned this 100 times that I went through a ton of different designs, and then as I was experimenting with, I think I was close to either picking like someone that flies with their pigtails or a humanoid seagull.
Yeah.
That's when I came up with Otus, and based on that little sketch that I did, I created a sprite for that very, very early. If we had actually stuck with kind of what would work best for an illustration, I might have picked a very different face. But because I shrunk it down early and started experimenting with features, that's how Otus ended up the way that he is. Like, there is a very important part of character design. Yes, everyone talks about the silhouette and everyone talks about the noticeable elements and all that, but when you're working on a sprite, if you can't see the character's expression, and if the face is not highlighted in a way that emphasizes the parts that you want, then it's very difficult to continue working on that sprite because you're going to have so much extra work. And part of the idea that I wanted with Otus was those, like, what I call the Mickey Mouse era eyes.
Yeah.
Ironically, that was something that was coming back through pixel art, but it wasn't really something that was emphasized at the time I was working on it. I thought this was very new and revolutionary.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to bring those eyes back. And in order for those big line eyes not only to be visible, but for you to have enough real estate to make expressions with it, I needed him to have a big blank space for his face.
Yeah.
We did mention this last year, that the other alternative was to make him look more like an owl.
Yeah.
And there was, now that I look back at it, it's kind of a horrifying sprite about what he used to look like. And we've been teasing you for a year, but here it is. Here's Otus. This is what he might have looked like. You happy now? Yeah. Congratulations. He's horrifying. But yes, the sprite was very instrumental to getting his design right.
I know that some games they use close-up portraits to reveal the actual detail of the character, and then have tiny sprites that don't really look like anything in the actual game. I know Disgaea for one did that. But in Owlboy, you actually animated all the characters talking, all their expressions, so their design needed to come through with the pixel art in mind, right?
Yeah, that was actually a choice that we made very early on. I'm a big fan of the art style of Breath of Fire 4, and I love the portraits. And part of that art style got moved over to stuff like Mega Man Battle Network and those games, where you have the dialogue box and then you have the little portrait in the bottom left corner where you have the character talking. And we actually had this conversation early on where we were like, it would be a lot more economically sound to have the portrait there so that the player will be looking at the portrait and then read the text, and they won't mind so much the sprite. It saves you a lot of time. The thing is, whenever I'm playing something, I'm annoyed that I'm not looking at the characters.
Yeah.
Because then you'll be like, I'm looking over here. They're saying a thing. The character took a few steps, but they don't emote in any way. They just took a step, and then the portrait changes, and then I'm like up and down and up and down, and why even have the characters on screen then? So even though it was a lot more work, having the characters actually emote what they're supposed to, I feel helps draw you in with the scene, because now you're not thinking of the characters that are standing there as an abstraction. They're actually what's happening.
Yeah. Question from QWERTY is Queen. Does Twig's family ever accept them for who they are?
I think that was part of the scene in the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where we left off last year.
Yeah.
I seem to remember. And the whole conclusion to that is, yes, they will put Twig down. But at the same time, they do it because they're worried.
Yeah, it's a lot less of a we don't want you to be okay. It's more they're worried about Twig.
Yeah.
And they want Twig to be okay. And I feel like that carries over from that conversation very well.
Okay, question from Cinnamon Toast. I've been looking everywhere to find out what that red thing on Otus's shirt is. I've seen people draw it as a tie or a scarf or a jewel. I've been wanting to cosplay as Otus, and I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah, that a lot of people are a little confused about what that is because it's so covered up. But yeah, it is a tie or an ascot that is sort of enveloped under a white collared shirt. And it's sort of a callback to school uniforms because Otus is technically of school age. But it's more there to sort of imply what Otus is meant to be part of. You can see Aegio also has sort of that same outfit on. So they're sort of tied in that way.
Yeah. Next question from Dominic Schultz. Do you have any information about Vikings on trampolines? Love this game so much. Played it at Gamescom and saw it 10 years ago on a live stream with Gronk and Sarazar. I would like to know a release date.
So, first off, thank you so much for playing. Man, you've really been dedicated to this game's entire history. But yes, I actually have some information about that. So we mentioned at the start that this has been kind of a quiet year for us because we've been recuperating after the launch of Remix. We've been trying to figure out what we're going to be doing, but that means that we've had the time to think about what our strategy is going to be. And next year, 2025, is going to be the year of Vikings. As far as we can make it happen, Vikings is happening next year. That is the plan. That is what we're trying to do, and by golly, we're gonna make it happen.
Yes, it's been in the making longer than Owlboy now. I mean, we haven't actively worked on it for as long as we did Owlboy. It's just been in the concept phase. I decided when I was a kid, basically, and then I showed it to you.
I think it was 10 years after.
Yeah.
And then you were like, look at my strategy game.
Yeah.
And I was like, this does not look like a strategy game,
it's
Joe.
kind of changed. It's pivoted since then. We made a little demo and we showed it off at the Nordic Games Conference in 2011, and actually it's won the indie sensation that year.
Yeah, it won Game of the Year, which is so weird because then 10 years later, we were like, should we pick this up for full development?
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of like we've done some projects on the side as D-Pad Studio, just to join some competitions. We did Possession. I don't know if anyone ever saw that one even.
I'm really proud of that one. I don't know how long you worked on it. It was like a week or something.
A week.
Yeah.
And we've always had these kind of break projects. Mostly we haven't shown them off. Vikings was supposed to be just one of those, but in the end we applied for funding from the Film Fund and we actually got it. So now we have to finish it.
Yeah, that's kind of how that works.
But next year, yes.
Yeah, because we've been off showing this off at TGS now for about 3 years, and have been showing it off for 2 years at Gamescom, and like the prototype version, we've been showing that off for like almost 2 decades now. And just for the stuff that we've made so far with Vikings, I think that would make for a killer game, but we want to add a little bit more. So we're not that far off.
No.
So 2025, all the fingers possible to cross. That's when that will happen. It's just like kind of like, yeah. So right now we're going to take a short break and cut to our correspondent Otus in Tokyo right now, checking out TGS on our behalf.
Sweat, Otus? Yeah. Hit the button, Otus. No.
Question from Ice Wolf. Who out of the gang would get their butt kicked the worst at Tetris? And who would be the best? Please say it's Geddy. Can I challenge him? I'll kick his butt at Tetris.
That's a very specific question.
Yeah, the specific wish. Maybe we should make a Tetris clone where Geddy is playing as your opponent. You know, like in Puzzle Fighter.
Oh yeah.
They actually appear as characters.
We're like Puyo.
Yeah.
Okay, let's analyze this. I'm assuming that they're asking between the 4 main characters.
Yes.
So I'm going to suspect that the best out of all of them would be Alphonse.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's an actual
Well, yeah, he's quite ancient and has some mechanical advantages, I would say. So probably Alphonse would be the best. I don't think Getty would be bad. Either he's very good or he's very bad.
Yeah.
I can't quite figure out which one because he's a mechanic and he did figure out how to do a lot of like impromptu stuff very quickly, especially in some of the later scenes in the game. So it wouldn't surprise me if he would be really freaking good at Tetris. But there's also that like contrast sometimes when you're like, yeah, you know how to do X, you can definitely do Y, and then they're just like
I think the worst one would be Otus with his gauntlets
Yeah.
on. I don't see him handling Tetris or any kind of precision work all that well.
Yeah, I'm not expecting Otus to be like the best at games, probably.
No.
Though I am going to make the prediction that Twig would probably be the worst.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. I can't articulate exactly why, but I get the impression that Twig has a slight problem with the focus.
Yeah.
Like that would probably be it. So if we're making like a tier list kind of a thing, I would probably put Alphonse at the top, Twig at the bottom, and then Otus slightly above that, with Getty as sort of like a wild card. You don't know where he's going to go.
And now we know who we should put up as a difficulty level in
Yeah.
this game.
The final boss is Alphonse.
Yeah. From Floridan Fox, what would Alphonse be good at cooking? Any old recipes from millennia ago?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, one thing that we haven't really explored all that much was the cooking aspect in Owlboy, because that was something that we worked on. Was a bunch of cooking mechanics that we never actually ended up using in the game.
Yeah.
We had the juice machine.
Yeah.
That we tested for a little bit.
We're supposed to bring a canteen. You could unlock you can still drink them in the game, but you were supposed to bring them with you as kind of like a potion out of Zelda, you know?
Yeah.
Fill them up with various kinds of soup.
And all of that soup was supposed to be made with issues.
Yeah.
Which is the official name for all of the different plants. And
Yeah.
of course, the name is a pun on radishes. So there's redishes, yellowishes, bluishes, etc. And they would give you different stats.
In the iteration of the game, you could put them in your pocket, that you could bring them with you to Kernel. Was it her that was supposed to be making these soups?
I don't think it was Kernel, but part of the thing with Kernel was that, yeah, she could distill it into different things for you. And because I believe she was originally made as a botanist, part of the school in Advent had a tree that you could grow. You had like different like dirt patches where you could grow different trees from. But suffice to say, there were a lot more elements of cooking in Owlboy very early on. Among other things, Mandolin had a brother that we never added to the game who was supposed to be like the chef.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to introduce that entire element. But the thing about Alphonse as someone that cooks is, without going into too much about Alphonse's early character, he did act as sort of a caretaker in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that meant that he would have to know a plethora of different recipes.
I mean, he's a literal walking stove, isn't he?
So it's like, he would probably know a ton of stuff. The thing is, and I haven't given too much thought about this, what an owl's diet is, as opposed to other beings.
Yeah.
Because we've never really explored it all that much.
No.
But I don't think Alphonse would discriminate who he makes food for, so he would probably know recipes for everyone.
Yeah.
So just narrowing it down. Okay, here's one way that we can answer this question in some way, because Alphonse would probably cater to whatever the person that he's cooking for would like. Otus grew up with T, and he grew up with a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So some of them are more savory, some of them are more fruity in taste. So probably Otus's favorite meal that he would make for him would probably be some sort of vegetable stew with some kind of fruit parfait thing and a sweetened tea. That's as best of an answer as I think I can give.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Question from the Owlian. Owlboy has a really powerful, intricate story. What was the process of developing it from the initial idea into a full-blown plot?
This is a very long-winded question. So we're going to try to sort of do the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
But to sort of summarize, early on I had a kind of a specific idea of where Owlboy was going and sort of what the roots of it was. I mentioned this a couple of times, but the original idea was trying to find a concept that worked with the limitations that we had, which was we were developing for the Xbox 360 Xbox Live Arcade system using XNA, and we wanted something that could do sprites in chunks and assets rather than tile work. And the idea very quickly started developing into like floating islands and that sort of thing. And the idea of Otus being a mute came from the idea of other people not being able to speak the same language as you because they were so separated. So there were a lot of elements there about traversing to other places. How does language work? How does flying work if you're owls? Are there people there? That sort of thing. And then there was this element of what if you had a object or a relic, if you will, that is beyond your capability of understanding, but you give it to someone that does not understand it in any way, shape, or form. What would they do with it? And how would that change the course of the world? And then from there, it started to develop into this idea of what is the difference between having a relationship with your friends that can then strengthen you along your journey and help you make better decisions, as opposed to having to take care of all of these things alone. So there's all these small elements of how do you treat knowledge? How do you deal with your problems by yourself? What will the ultimate outcome be of all of these elements clashing together? So there were all these small elements there that could build into an interesting story. The thing is, then you start developing it.
Yeah. From my point of view, all of the stuff that you had in your head wasn't really on paper.
Yeah.
So when we, started writing story for Owlboy, when I got onboarded, and when Henrik, your brother, got onboarded, we had a lot of our own elements that kind of ended up weaved into the story as well. So the story of Owlboy developed as our own story developed, and that's how it ended up the way that it did. The dream sequence in the beginning of the game, we added that one because we wanted to start the game kind of differently from just waking up in your own bed like all the other games do. We kind of wanted to have like a pre-intro and set the tone for the rest of the game. We wanted to immediately break the illusion that this is a cozy, colorful Mario Zelda type game.
Yeah, part of the idea behind that is we wanted to tell a story where you can discuss difficult elements, even regardless of what the age of the viewer is supposed to be. But you can't just throw that in there. You can't just be like, and now here's a horrifying thing that we didn't prepare you for. Okay, go. you have to set the stage that, okay, it might be that you're going to have to deal with some difficult things. So we start you off with that, and then we go into the more like pleasant aspects of the game. So you're like, okay, so it can be both.
Yeah. And something that we discussed early on was that when we were kids ourselves, we were exposed to, you know, like 90s shows and stuff that would challenge our minds a little bit. And we were thinking that even if kids play Owlboy and it's got these like little dark themes, and kids are perfectly capable of handling that type of stuff.
Part of the challenge with making a game like this is that whenever you're handling difficult subjects, there's inevitably going to be someone that, oh, you didn't do it right, or this is bad, or you shouldn't show bad things because bad things are bad things and therefore it should never be viewed. So it was difficult tightrope to walk, just to find that balance in there of happy and sad and difficult. But I think we struck a pretty good balance because, like you mentioned, a lot of these elements were inspired by us as we were developing the games at the time.
I think the biggest change happened when we decided to, you know, destroy Advent.
Yeah.
Because that was the point where we collectively were at our lowest point, and we felt like just our worlds were getting destroyed. And so we were thinking, why don't we put that in the game? Why don't we destroy the beacon of hope in the game?
Yeah, and it's also, this was very tough for us as well, because Advent had all this potential. If you think about it in terms of an RPG, Advent is when you get to like the big town, and then you get to see all the sights, and all the important characters get introduced, and all the stuff starts picking up.
We had so many activities planned out. You were supposed to be able to help like build buildings, cook soup.
Cook soup, you're supposed to go to the theater, there was like shops and everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was actually made, but then we realized none of this makes any sense.
No.
And
it's just time wasting, basically.
And that was very tough to get rid of that as an element, just so it would improve the game.
Yeah.
And I think sort of part of that hurt, along with the stuff that was happening at the time, really helped like elevate the story to where it needed to be. And just to cap off that question, it is kind of cathartic that at the end of the game, we sort of get to the point that I had initially written the story for, where the relics have come into full play. You have these elements of you're not sure what's happening, you're not certain of where your allegiances are these things being misused, but it's propped up with all of our development and our personal stories that we've added to the game as it is. And I have mentioned this previous years, but this story would not have been as good had it not been for all the other things that sort of built towards that moment. Because you could have ended up with something that was a very standard, here's a villain, but they're a little bit conflicted kind of a thing. And there was so much nuance that was brought in by everything that was added by the team, and just all of the hurt that we'd been going through, but all of the positives that we ended up adding to the story as we went.
Yeah. Here's the question from RetroFox. Will there ever be a sequel in the future for Owlboy? Love you guys. Played the game many times. Donuts to everyone. And fun fact, he's our current champion in Savant Ascent remixes as well.
Well, if you're looking back on this video in 60 years from now, at least you'll have that documented.
Yes.
Current champion! So we do get this question a lot, where people are curious about what's going to happen in the future for Owlboy, and if we have any plans. We certainly have plans. There have been multiple different approaches that we might look into how we would do either a sequel to Owlboy or expanding on the story somehow. Unfortunately, like every year, can't talk about it out loud because that would kind of spoil the idea. But I suppose what we can say is that we've certainly been discussing it, and we've had quite a few ideas about how we might approach something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, and I feel like I should mention this, if you or someone else haven't had the opportunity to play Owlboy yet, the game is 75% off on both Steam and Switch right now. For Steam, it'll last all the way until November 4th, and the Switch sale, it'll last all the way out until November 15th, so you have a lot of time.
From Dandeal, are you guys up for collabs or crossovers and Otus appearing in other games?
Absolutely. In fact, Otus has appeared in quite a few different games. Just off the top of my head, he had made an appearance in Save Me Mr. Taco, in Rise, the trading card game.
Yeah.
He was in Bounty Battle, and he has also appeared in Rise, the trading card game.
You mentioned that twice.
I did?
Yes.
He has appeared in Rise, the trading card game. Buccaneri showed up in La Mulana 2. I believe she was a shopkeep, which, I mean, is appropriate. So we're always open to have Otus in other titles. In fact, if someone wants to collaborate on something, just shoot us an email. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
I've always envisioned that the characters would work very well for a fighting game. I don't know why. Doesn't make any sense.
No, but fighting games rarely do make any sense.
True, I suppose. I suppose in the sense that I really love pixel art, and fighting games have a lot of good pixel art.
Yeah.
So in that case, it makes sense in my head. Also, like, really weird puzzle-like games or those over-the-top sports games, that kind of things, seem to match very well. Like the stuff that you would see on the Game Boy, like Mario Tennis, the RPG or something.
Definitely.
That sounds like something that Otus would appear. In fact, Otus had been scheduled to appear in quite a few of D-Pad's games, so hopefully sometime in the future we can make that happen.
Question from Hawkwing. Question about Savant Ascent. What was the process of designing levels around the music? I'm curious how the stages and enemies were planned out and the order the music and gameplay were implemented.
So this is a lot about how Savant created the soundtrack for it. But I can say we were experimenting with something different earlier that year. And Alex started messing around with a soundtrack for a different tune, and me and you, we were just sitting there humming it constantly. Yeah. Just like, damn, this is good. And Alex was just like, I can just make something like this for something else. And when we started looking into what we could do for Savant Descent Remix, I think back then it was called Savant Descent Anniversary Edition. Yeah. At least in my head, that tune became sort of like a guiding star for that soundtrack. And then, of course, Alex went and did his thing.
Yes. I mean, originally, with the Savant Descent 10 years ago, we just put music in it, whatever we wanted from Alex's repertoire. And I just asked permission, can I use this and this and this song? And Alex was just, yeah, I don't care. So he just did. And I was just figuring out the BPM of the music and making the enemies, like move in a pattern according to the music and the HUD elements and everything. And people probably don't even think about it, but it's there to kind of get you going with the game. And with Savant Descent Remix, we didn't really, since Alex did a whole soundtrack for that game, we didn't really do it the same way. Now we more built the levels around, you know, the mood of the music. So you'll have the dark themed one, which we call the Catacombs, which was entirely different from anything we've made like level wise before.
Yeah, part of the challenge with making Remix to begin with was the initial blueprint of the game was we wanted to expand the endless mode of the original because that had a lot of potential. And then we started looking into what we could do for the levels. So we started with the standard level, and in the original Savant Descent we had the DLC, which was the Void update. And for that, when we were in space, there was of course the samurai, but I themed all the enemies after like space ninja things. So you had the sort of ninja drills, and you had the sort of reed hat, saw blade kind of enemies. All of that was meant to sort of have that same theme. But when we made Remix, we used a lot of the same enemies for stage 1, and we had some left over before we got to the space level. One of them being the saw hat enemies. And then I started thinking about like, what can we do to give a unique flavor to every level? And we discussed it a little bit back and forth. So the second level, we thought about the saw blades and how they could maybe move the elevator. And that became, okay, so saw blades, let's do something industrial. Something with like big gears and everything. And then we got into the catacombs. And then it was like, what can the gameplay be for that area? Well, it's really unique if you can't see everything. How can we turn that into a gameplay gimmick? And then, of course, since you're taking the light out, let's do spooky enemies. That still has that enemy element of like they're being made from materials. Because the entire theme of the game is the Philosopher's Stone just melds stuff together that it's grabbed. And how can we turn that into sort of like a spooky looking amalgamation of something.
With the music in mind, I mean, designing the final boss, the samurai, was the most interesting aspect. Because in the original game, I used the Overkill song, and I synced all of his attacks with that song, and it was just a repeating pattern. But Savant Descent Remix, we decided to make like 3 different stages, each with their own unique song. So now suddenly he has like faces and stuff and doing all these bonkers, and that's when the music really, you know, started taking center stage. So in the final part of the game, that's when the music really, you know, kicks off.
Yeah, I am very happy about that fight though. I've heard from other developers that they looked at that as sort of a source of inspiration for how they could do sort of action attack that are very well choreographed. So I'm very happy with how that turned out.
Yeah. And now, here's Simon answering your burning questions live from Japan.
Hi, I'm back from Japan. Wasn't that an interesting question?
Question from Ringo. Do any of the characters in the game have any known last names? Just curious.
I don't know. Because That goes into a lot of elements about how the culture of the Owlboy universe would function.
Yeah.
I think, personally, probably, at least for the area that Owlboy takes place in, it's less about last names and more about family crests.
Yeah.
Because one thing that's a reoccurring element from every Owlboy character, or at the very least from every Owl character, is that they're part of a particular house, and the crest of their house is shown in a ton of different things that they wear. The most obvious one, of course, is their owl cloak. So you can tell a lot about what their heritage is. But sometimes those symbols are put on other things as well. So if you want to know what someone's heritage is, like who are my parents, who are my grandparents, and all of that, and what do we represent, and what ideas do we want to forward further, you can just look at their crests.
Yeah.
Either how they're evolved or how much representation there is of that particular crest in their lineage.
So I guess for Otus it would be like Otus of the house of.
Yeah, I think so. Or rather, it would be like Otus, and he would sign it with his official crest.
Yeah. From Kolarn, what's the most Norwegian thing about Owlboy, besides you all being from there?
The most Norwegian thing about Owlboy.
Yeah.
I can't even say sweater vest, because Norwegians don't wear sweater vest.
No.
We have a very particular kind of knitted pattern sweater that's very common here, but not that. I suppose you could say that you go to a snow-covered land that has sort of elements of that in it.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is sort of unavoidable is that we put a lot of ourselves in these games, and probably a lot of our Norwegianisms like come through even though we don't intend it to. Because this is sort of an aspect that's very difficult for me to see personally, because I live here. But I have a suspicion that there might be some like mannerisms or elements of how the characters behave or what choices they make that might be like more Norwegian than you might expect.
It's true, but we are also not your typical Norwegian.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we've while developing an Owlboy, I guess we were part-time living in the States even.
Yeah, I think cumulatively maybe have lived in the States for like 2 years or so. Maybe a bit more. But I do think, to an extent, the way people dress, because that's kind of like I really like sweaters, and I love woven patterns, and of course my family did cross-stitching for many years, so the fact that a lot of the characters are a lot more bunched up probably is more Norwegian than I had planned for.
Might be. Okay, Anonymous. Is Geddy named after Geddy Lee from Rush?
Unfortunately, yes. The truth is, we were very, very early on. This was before you joined the team. Our first programmer was just throwing out. We were spitballing with some things, and I don't remember who said it first, but I was like, could it be something like, I don't know, Geddy? And then he was like, oh yeah, Geddy Lee from Rush. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but sure. And ever since then, I just kind of kept calling him Geddy. And I didn't think about the fact that, oh yeah, that's probably why I was so gung-ho about naming him that. So yeah, unfortunately, through some sort of weird thing, by accident, Geddy is named after the singer Rush.
But it's a perfect name for him, though. He couldn't be named anything else.
Yeah, at this point, like I can't look at him and not think Getty.
No.
Because it's just, it's what his face looks like.
Yeah.
He looks like a Getty.
Yeah, it does. Okay, from Anon. Was there an idea to add survival mode or something like an arena to the game? After all, there are so many different types of enemies in the game and the characters have different abilities. I'm supposing he's talking about Owlboy for this.
Yes.
So, a survival mode for Owlboy. While we did have, ideas for mini games, and the canon minigame is one of them, poorly executed as it is. I don't think spending too much time on stuff like that for Owlboy was ever on the menu.
No, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of the rooms that you get into are sort of survival rooms.
Yeah.
And some of them are even optional. I can't even remember what the name of the enemy is. The flying mole.
Oh, yeah, the barb.
Yeah, the barb.
That's the first thing that we experimented with, like battle room wise.
Yeah, because that you don't even have to touch the barb eggs, and if you do, you get an extra fight, which surprisingly takes out a lot of players.
Yeah.
Because it can be kind of tough that early on, especially if you haven't figured out how to do the spin and instant teleport attack. So that's something that we experimented with. But something adjacent to that we had very early on was the target practice minigame.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because there you had the option to sort of train yourself on how to use Getty's blaster.
Yeah.
We actually did have a score system where the faster you did it, the more points you got. And I forget what their name was, but it was something like the Grey Sentinel or something. I think that was something that Henrik added. Was a nickname that Agio used for himself. Because he was just like, he didn't want people to know that he did the target minigame and was so damn good at it.
Yeah.
So he had to find like a moniker so that people wouldn't know.
Yeah. And I wish we had finished that up. It's still in the game somewhere.
We there's like an awkwardly placed rock in the leftmost side underneath Bomberman's house.
The entrance is still there to the target practice area. We should on the 10th anniversary we should just remove that rock.
Yeah, because it's like, it's so funny because a lot of people, when they enter Valley for the first time, it naturally slopes towards that thing because we wanted you to walk in there and do target practice.
Yeah.
But then, because, that's one thing I should mention is that in some iterations of the game, when you met Getty for the first time, you instantly get him. So you would have Getty at that point and you would walk over and then just do the target minigame. But now people just awkwardly walk up to that rock and like, why can't I do anything?
Yeah. So it would have been fun, but also time consuming. So
yes. Maybe sometime in the future for Owlboy 4.
Yeah.
That concludes the Owlboy anniversary Q&A.
Yeah, even though it's getting colder, this is my favorite part of the year because we get to do this little sit down, talk about Owlboy and what's going on, and looking forward to the 9th anniversary.
It's bizarre to think about. But that's not the end for tonight. For those of you watching the live stream at home, we will be doing our annual live stream of Owlboy, where we are currently, I believe we just finished Mesos last year.
Yeah.
So we're going into spoiler territory, but this is where it kind of gets exciting. There is a slight chance that we'll be able to finish this year. No promises, but for those of you that have stuck around this long, I hope you will join us for this final segment. Thank you so much for watching everything, and thank you for supporting us all these years. We'll see you next year. Bye! Hello, everyone!
Hello.
So yeah, we're over to the live segment of this live stream. We're currently on our backup camera because a certain cat decided to eat it right before the broadcast. So thank you, Lottie. We appreciate you. Well, it's that time of the year again when we are going to be playing Owlboy live.
Yes. I can't remember quite where we left off. I think it was right after Twig's family scene.
Yeah, I believe we left Twig's house and we went down to, I believe, Buccaneer's shop. We picked up an upgrade and that we're going to continue from there. So this is going to be interesting because I haven't played Owlboy for a year. So I'm going to be fairly rusty. But I'm going to jump us over to the gameplay panel now. And let's see here if I can get everything right. So I gave myself a whole list of stuff that I need to do in order for this to work. So everything activated, window capture, etc., etc. Okay, and do we have Owlboy?
The mighty Owlboy.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
Let me just double check. All right. So I'm going to be very careful here because this microphone picks up a lot. And we are actually going to get proper sound this time because we planned ahead.
Didn't we last year? I can't remember.
We had like propped in headphones, I think.
Right.
Okay. So now everything's fine for everyone. The music is where it needs to be. Nothing needs adjusting. All right, in that case, we are going to jump in to Tropos.
We have 2,000 coins. That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly where we were. I think we got some new stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see, Alphonse has his upgraded shotgun.
Oh, that's true.
And Twig, I don't think there's anything new there, but we can go in and
Let's have
check.
a double check.
Just in case. Is it safe out there? Come back when you found all the coins. Okay.
Ah, so this is the final...
Right, so in order for us to unlock the Spectre Cloak, we'll have to go a little bit further.
Find all the coins. I don't think we're gonna do a completionist
No.
run of the game, but...
So here's what I'm thinking we're going to be doing tonight. We are going to attempt to get through what will be the Pirate Dreadnought. This is where we left off last year, where something bad is happening with the relics, and we have to go and stop it. And if we manage to get through that fast enough, then I think we might complete the game.
We may.
We may. So, actually, just as a very quick adjustment here. Oh, excuse me, chat. I have to do something. There. Now I can see how much time we've spent.
Yeah.
So 119 on our end. All right.
At this point, you have Twig finally, so now you can traverse through a waterfall that would, make it so Otus couldn't actually go through it because he doesn't like water.
Do we want to give the cannon minigame a shot?
Is it even unlocked? Yeah, we could.
Let's
try
check it. Let's start out with the most painful part of the game. Oh no,
it isn't. You need to you need to meet up with the Bogwins outside of the Buccaneer's shop.
Yeah, there should be like a little platform up here.
Yep, follow the string.
There we go. Buds, you're all here.
Sure are. Let's have some fun.
Bah. But what should we do? Oh, I know. Let's go to the cannon.
Yes.
Yes!
Let's roll. Okay.
Hey, wait up, guy.
And I remember working on this minigame forever, and it's one of the things that drives reviews down on Steam, and it's an optional thing as well.
Buds, look! It's that owl guy!
You
guys think he's ready for the cannon? Owls are born ready, bud.
Okay, guy, get up there when you're ready, Mr. Owl.
Hello.
Ready,
Mr. Owl.
You're ready to fly.
Good advice.
He's ready.
Formation! Opening hatch.
I remember back when these cannons were used for actual quick travel as well.
Yeah, because in the original version, when Tropos was all that much bigger, you needed something that you could fly with. So you got to the top of the map, and then you could sort of like glide your way down.
And Strato was its own map, like separated from Tropos as well, which had its own cannon at the very bottom.
Mm-hmm. So these things were used for a lot more than the minigame.
Yeah.
But we were like, it's so sad that we can't use this mechanic, so why don't we just put it into a minigame?
Yeah, let's just use the assets for something. And that's how this minigame happened.
And it turns out to make it into a minigame makes this traversal kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Start countdown! 3, 2, 1. Isn't something supposed to happen? Ah! Okay, let's see if I can do this. I probably can't. It's been way too long.
Oh. Yes. No.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. You're doing it. You're really doing it.
There is no spoon.
Fuck! Oh no.
I mean, darn.
One more go.
One more go.
That was close though. Holy
I was so
crap.
sure I was going to get that on the first try too.
I remember when we tested this and you got Odin, your second brother, to test it. And he was like, oh, it worked so well, it's so fun. And then when we launched the game and people actually play it and giving honest feedback.
Yeah. You ready?
I think you can actually skip that scene.
I thought I could too.
There-
You have to
then-
remember,
then
it's
there's
been-
a bug actually.
It's been a very long time since we played this, so we are going to miss some things.
There we go.
Come on, come on, come on. Oh, come on! Alright, alright, alright. One more. Oh, they do it every time now.
Yeah, they're supposed to actually skip that scene, but
Well,
hotfix coming up next anniversary.
yeah, next anniversary.
Stay patient, folks.
In 1 year, we'll fix this one cutscene for an 8-year-old game.
Poof.
Come on. Yeah. All right. This time. I missed it worse this time. That's not good.
Nah.
All right.
You lost your mojo.
My mojo's just fine. Thank you very much. All right, we'll make this the last run because I know how this minigame goes.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's the fault of the cutscene not playing the way that it should.
Can you hold X or something? No.
Nope.
Damn.
It must be just this particular version.
Yeah.
okay. Okay, Mojo's back. Here we go. I almost unmojoed there.
Oh. I have a good feeling.
Makes one of us.
Yes. Yes.
Video games. Video
Yes.
games.
It's whoa.
Video games.
Wow!
Yeah!
Oh
Ah!
damn!
Fourth attempt.
I am actually pretty impressed. You did good. Did you end up on the leaderboard?
I doubt it. Woo! Let's give him a Buccaneer cone. She won't care, right?
Nah.
Yeah! No! Alright, bring out your pockets, guys!
Oh, that's a lot of coins.
I'm so happy that I fully animated those. That's so satisfying.
Yeah.
Please don't tell Buccaneer.
And they never did. Cause he's a
Oh.
mute.
What up, guy?
Oh, he gives you something, but I forgot what it was. Is it
You saved me earlier from them flying beasties.
yeah.
Stupid coins have no value. Not really. I want to give you something special.
Oh.
Please accept it, sir.
Do you remember what you used it for?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. In fact, I can go and demonstrate.
Ah.
It's my favorite thing ever, but I want you to have it. If you put it to your ear, you can hear whispers. At least I do. Maybe it's the dead talking. Whoa, that'd be really freaky! But I hope you like it, sir. I'll go over here now.
And there he stays.
So just to show that in our inventory. Shell, a pristine seashell. It can be used to communicate with the dead.
Ah. Can it?
So this is, of course, spoiler for those that have not played the game as much as everyone else has. But I will demonstrate this because I feel like it is important. So if you have the seashell, you walk over here, and this happens. Now, this is a kind of a unique situation with this particular scene.
Yeah.
Because right now, we're just kind of suffering alone. But the thing is, Getty isn't in our party.
No.
So that changes the scene a little bit. So we might come back here later, after certain events have transpired.
Yeah.
Alright,
Is it time?
it is time.
Haha. Oh, wait a
Oh,
minute.
no, that's the wrong one. We're not going this way. Wrong place.
Oh, I see some familiar faces.
We can talk to those when we come back.
Yeah.
Alright. Twig time.
And there you go. Whoop.
Yeah.
I guess that's the kind of Metroidvania-ish part of the game where you can, now that you have Twig, you can actually start traversing other places that weren't available before.
Yeah, that's the thing about the game is that it isn't really a Metroidvania.
No.
Because our game is really linear, but because there's not really a good comparison for what the game actually is, most people just label it as that anyway.
Yeah.
So this was kind of an interesting bit, because we always knew we wanted to get back to the mothership and do more with the insides of it. But then we were like, well, what makes sense here is that Twig is sort of the natural counter to a lot of what the pirates do. So now, the fact that Twig can pick up all these enemies and can essentially bypass a lot of the enemies by either webbing them or what is essentially a dodge through them,
Yeah.
they become less... It's not that they're not a threat, but it's more so that you now have something to counter the complete indestructibility of them.
He's also the fastest gunner, although he doesn't actually defeat any enemies, he just webs them. But then you can, take Alphonse's shotgun or do Getty's attack. And so he's really fast, but he's more of a utility kind of gunner,
Yeah. The ship appears to be in complete lockdown. Our mechanic companion might have made short work of these doors, but since he's missing, we shall have to find another way. Come now, my friend. Do not worry yourself. I'm sure Getty's all right. That or he's gotten himself eaten. Good friend. Certainly not. I have the utmost faith in our green comrade. He's probably back in Valley already, safe and sound. Meanwhile, leave this one to me, as I might be able to open this door. We shall have to find the opening mechanism. Should be around here somewhere.
I wonder.
And this is a pivotal part of this level to begin with, because the problem is, if you don't get the idea that you can grab these grates, destroy them, and thus gaining access to the insides here, you're going to have a tough time.
Yeah.
That's why we're forcing you to do that here.
Yeah.
But I have seen some that play the game that just kind of spam and that accidentally knock it off, and then they don't realize what happened.
Yeah, right.
That is genuinely a very difficult thing to do, to take care of as a game designer.
I mean, Twig's abilities were hard to introduce, and way harder before. He had some unique abilities that we actually removed from the game.
Yeah, Twig, their entire repertoire, people are very prone to spamming things, and since so much happens, they're just like, oh, all of this is unexplained, when we're used to playing. So when you introduce a character like Twig and they can do all this stuff, we know how to be patient.
Yeah.
But it's very tough to account for that, unfortunately.
I really liked the mechanic where Twig could set up traps. Twig would shoot an anchor and then another one, and just you could.
Yeah, we had a whole thing where you can make
you can actually
full
make
webs.
spider webs.
Yeah, and it turned out that was really cool, but it was also really prone to bugs.
Yeah.
Ironically, bugs. If I find the lever in there, we can keep the door open for you. But I will need to stay here to keep it open. Voila!
Ta-da!
Go ahead, Otus. I'll meet you on the other side. But yeah, that was an element that is kind of sad that we couldn't add in, because it was so technologically interesting.
Yeah.
It just turns out that, from a gameplay perspective, there were a lot of mechanics that we added to the game that were really freaking cool.
Yeah.
But it turns out it doesn't work for this kind of game.
Yeah, and we, this was our first commercial. I mean, aside from Savant Ascent, and making mechanics like that, it's super hard, especially in a big game like this.
Yeah. Intruders, prepare for annihilation. Hi there, friend. Where to see my body, Dirk? So step aside. Oh, that was harsh. Let's teach this tin can a lesson. Let me see if I remember this.
There you go.
Alright.
So the whole idea here is to, depict the pirates as if they're indestructible, right? So.
Huh? Where'd you go to? Fine, I'll just smoke you out.
This is dramatic.
And so we needed to have a type of challenge that would not be that you fight pirates, because you would lose.
Yeah.
So the idea was instead that the challenge is that you die from poison gas.
Yeah. I've forgotten all about this part.
But it's a tough sell too as a gameplay mechanic, because the whole thing is that you're supposed to navigate the dark, and it's supposed to be claustrophobic and difficult. But I think in retrospect, a lot of people just found it frustrating instead of fun.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to account for that.
Yeah.
Especially when you've designed an entire area where, like, the fun part is trying to not die from gas. And then you're done with it, and people go, well, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what do? The whole thing is already made.
And yeah, exactly. And you know, like stealth sections and stuff. I came from, you know, playing Xbox games like Halo, where it's just like guns blazing, and then to a game where we needed to make like stealth sections like this, and it was a huge.
Whoop.
Well, it was just a huge like pivot in the game types I usually made at that point.
Yeah. This was also like a very long time ago. Things have changed a lot since now. The relics have been secured. Prepare for takeoff. Good. Plot a course towards the remaining settlements. And the Owlboy? He comes and goes as he pleases. Regardless, he serves no purpose now. I will return to my quarters. Do not fail me. As always, Captain.
I like that Malmstrom's, every time he like steps, the screen shakes.
I wanted the most imposing giant thing I could make. The captain doesn't consider him a threat. Good. I'll take care of your treachery soon enough. Alphonse.
He's got revenge on his mind.
I always thought that this was a really good scene because it shows everyone's priorities so much. There's so much said here, even though seemingly there's very little that's actually there's very little dialogue.
Yeah.
All things considered. You've got to be sneaky.
Very sneaky.
This was also tough too. We needed vents where the smoke could come out of.
Yeah.
But make it clear that you could not knock them out.
So they're actually like in perspective.
Yeah. There's a lot of like small things that in this area that could certainly have been refined.
Yeah, but we were so young.
We were young.
I mean, this section here, we worked on pretty early on. I seem to remember. I think it's probably 15 years ago we started work on this section.
Yeah, because I feel like we I can't remember if the pirate attack was first or if the dreadnought was first.
Yeah.
I made sprites for this like at the very start of the project.
Yeah.
Because
I remember those pirates were ready to go when we started.
Yeah, because I wanted like you to have this big pirate ship that you had to navigate with, where you felt small and vulnerable against something that could just destroy you at any second. That was in there for a long, long time.
There was also the the other pirate ship where we kind of used the same textures and stuff. The smaller type of pirate ships.
Oops. Damn it.
So we had some experience with setting up all of the tiles and stuff before we started with this one, so this was a little faster. But at the same time, we had to make it huge, since it's kind of the final dungeon, I suppose, aside from
the final dungeon.
Yeah.
Which ironically was named Dungeon 3, even though
it's the 5th one.
6th. I lost count.
Because we worked on the game in such a weird sequence.
Yeah, because we essentially made the entire game at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, when you've never designed a game before, it takes time. But it's also when you're making a story game. Oh no, I'm gonna die here.
We need to pull the lever.
I need to press the button over here. I remember the panic.
We should have probably added more buttons in hindsight.
Yes, we should.
And now you need to start over.
Yep. Remember that thing we mentioned in the Q&A section that you would have soup
Yeah.
to sort of balance things out?
Yeah.
That's where this would have played in really
Exactly.
nicely.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is a type of balancing design that comes with when you want approachability. No.
Duh.
Come on.
No.
Oh,
You
no.
need both.
I need both.
Oh boy.
Because it's going to hit me for a few seconds after.
Yeah.
Is it going to take me out, though? That's the question. Is Otus Dunzo? O2 Dundo?
You have a smidge. A smidge of HP. Whoops.
Smudgos. I can't mix Smidge with Otus. It doesn't work. Alright. We might survive this.
Now
Maybe.
it's time. You're doing it. You need to get out. Oh.
Got it. And then there's a button here, right? No!
Oh.
Yes. Okay. Good.
I don't think they activate the alarm. But yeah, this was the first section where we made actual enemy AI as well.
Mm-hmm.
We spent so long because in one of the designs that we removed of this ship, there was ladders around that the pirates could climb.
Yeah.
So when Otus was hiding, in the ducts and stuff, they could actually climb in after you, and it worked. Kind of,
Yeah.
but it was so haphazard that
Yeah.
you just decided to redesign it all and make the enemies just not think. Instead, they move in like patterns. They can discover you, but they activate an alarm instead of actually chasing you around.
Yeah, so this, if you want a good modern comparison, Mr. X in Resident Evil 2, it was that kind of scenario where they could actually chase you around and make at least partially intelligent choices.
Yeah.
Sort of a Pac-Man kind of a way. But yeah, the problem with that sort of thing is that gets buggy real fast.
Oh yeah.
And once you start to iterate on that kind of process, it, especially when you made your own engine and you don't have like a team of hundreds of people to balance it out, it's very tough.
It's something that we had to redo, and it took a long time as well. But we finished it 8 years ago.
So here comes
What is
the
happening?
event. What's happening? Oh no. I think the ship is leaving ground. There's no telling where we're going to end up. What if they're heading for Valley? We need to find Alphonse fast.
Yeah, where did Alphonse go?
I mean, he's holding that
just
locking
holding
mechanism.
He's just on standby, sleep mode.
Let's go upstairs. Uh-oh.
Oh, I remember this scene as well.
Dilapidated ship.
Poof.
This was a tough one to add as well, because if you could just go down,
Yeah.
and that would never happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And here we introduce the element of trying to teach the player to use the grapple function.
Yeah, for fast travel.
This was one of the many times we tried to tell the player, hey, if you do this on any surface, but you can also hit these. It'll go faster, and you can get past things.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of players would solve those things by accident again.
Yeah.
And would just not know that that was the thing you could do, and then get mad. And it's so. I keep thinking to this day that, man, I wish we could have thought of some other way of introducing it that would have taught it better. But, I mean, given the situation that we were in, I feel like we did pretty okay.
Yeah, and you know, the shooting mechanic and the twin stick mechanic, it's acquired taste, I suppose, for a lot of players. But it's also what makes the game unique. I remember we had a design discussion where we were talking about, you know, should we remove the flying from the game? Because it would be so much easier to design enemies and have it be fun.
Yeah, it's ironic that we at all talked about the prospect of maybe we shouldn't have flying in our game about flying.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, here comes. I'm going to die here. I'm just gonna.
This place is, yeah.
I'm just gonna let you know ahead of time. This is, yeah, it's gonna go badly. All right, here we go. Yeah, okay, I got it in my fingers now.
Huh.
Again, you really have to. You really have to practice that whole thing about grapple hooks. That's why we so desperately tried to teach people early that, hey, this is a thing.
Yeah.
Please use it.
Go! Damn.
Hey!
It's a hard section. It's so hard. The timing, the bumps. It's dramatic.
Oh, Master Otus! Are you alright? Here, let me assist you.
Alphonse, where are we?
It seems we are locked ourselves out into the ship's armory. We have enough firepower here to wipe out any remaining settlements with ease. And even without this arsenal, Molstrom could still be unstoppable using nothing but the relics. The only real chance we have is to acquire those relics and use them against him.
And we better move fast. I think the ship is headed towards Valley.
Ship is unknown to me, but I'm certain we could use some of this firepower to get out of here.
I also like the implication here, because on one hand, like we talked about in the live stream,
Yeah.
what am I saying, the Q&A, the pirates use, they don't care about...
Didn't you see that was like TNT stuffed in a barrel? And you should
wasn't
probably
thinking.
get away.
The pirates don't really care about things getting lost,
Yeah.
so they'll use anything. So bombs is not off the table. But you can also see the state of their ships. They just put like planks over holes. Just screw it. No, what doesn't matter if it breaks apart. Just put some planks there. We'll put another robot in there to fix everything.
Yeah.
Who cares?
There you go.
Okay, so... Oh yeah, now I remember. Whoop. These ones were really tough to design as well.
Yeah.
Because you have to add failsafes in case you get stuck.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we have these. I remember, I think I was the one that designed a lot of these puzzles.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of the elements here that are like... I'd sit there with like bits of paper and be like, okay, so if I do this and then I do that and then I do this action, when... how do I make sure that they don't get stuck?
Yeah.
And over and over and over again. I just realized why I play puzzle games so much these days. It never even occurred to me because I never played like Tetris and that kind of thing before.
No.
But after we finished development of Owlboy, for some reason, like Tetris Attack and Block Koala and all that were suddenly really appealing.
It's yeah, and making puzzle games like this was also not something I had any experience with whatsoever. I would, you know, some of the Descent type games. That's what I designed before, you know, I started working on Owlboy. So I didn't even want to touch puzzles, you know.
Right. Okay, here comes the part.
Okay.
Because now we have the big guy. And big guy can stand on big switch. And I could cheese it and just go back up the hole, which is a quick strat that you can use.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it the real way. So we're gonna use the quick travel option.
Woohoo.
And use the stuff that we have learned that we can just go straight through bombs.
Yeah, that's also a mechanic that was really hard to introduce. We tried adding flashing, you know, to Twig, but it just wasn't. When you don't have like text, like actually explaining, and we didn't have video.
Yeah, and also, just to pause here for a second, you have to remember, this was when we designed this section. I think that was like 2007, 2006, somewhere around that ballpark. No, that's not right, because we were considering launching at 2011.
We launched at 2016.
2016. So this was probably around the ballpark of like 2012, somewhere around there. It was not common to have this like giant text blurb and video and hand holding for everything.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of people got extremely mad when you did that. So we were like, well, we have to let people intuit it or else something.
Yeah.
And when you play it in a modern setting now, a lot of people are mad that you're like well, why aren't you telling me all these things?
And there's kind of, you know, Dungeon Valley is the one I'm the most happy with design-wise.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason for that. That's because that's the final dungeon that we made.
Yeah, that was
so
the last
after, like,
one.
8 years of experience doing stuff like that.
That's why that first boss is so fun.
Yeah.
Because we're like, now we can use everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we know all the mechanics that you have to know. Okay, one of my favorite scenes. Dirk was one of the earliest characters that I designed for this game.
Yeah.
It was Otus, Geddy, and Agio. After that, I drew Alphonse and Dirk at the same time.
Huh.
Twig came in later. So it was really cathartic to finally get to the point where, okay, now we can introduce Dirk properly.
Yeah. And this fight too, if you hadn't learned how to pull off Twig's moves, whew.
A lot of people thought this fight was so cheap, and that it was the hardest thing in the world. But if you learn how to just do the basic movement, this is the easiest fight in the game.
It is.
You made it all the way up here. Malmstrom didn't even suspect you guys were coming. Of course, I knew better. Please just let us through to Malmstrom. There must be a way to stop this path of destruction that he's led us on. Have a little time before the captain figures out you're here. That means you'll let us go.
Balls.
Hardly.
He's so sadistic.
We could solve this so easily if you just let me and my friends pass. FRIENDS! Why would you ever feel the need to seek such frailties? Pathetic, powerless. Only weaklings who can't fend for themselves seek friendship. Just look at them. We were on our way to becoming the strongest, yet you abandoned us. You're going to pay, Alphonse. You're all going to pay.
How about you?
Jams! Okay.
Ah. That's the trick a lot of people didn't realize. You can Oh, this. That you could actually phase through his attacks with Twig's grapple hook.
You can knock away his knives, you can phase through his attacks. All of this can be bypassed. But you have to learn.
Yes.
Nice shot, Alphonse. But I'm only getting started. Alright. Let's pay attention.
There you go. Yes. Ah! No! Oh, you know what we should have added? That when you actually phase through it, the headbutt instead.
Oh, that could be nice.
But we
Please stop this. If only we could. Shut up! You won't get away with your betrayal. Get you for what you've done. I'll get you!
Oh, wrong gunner, wrong gunner. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, we have a problem. Wrong gunner.
Oh, it's here. Here he comes. Hadouken!
Alright, here we go. It hurts. It hurts real bad. Alphonse, you abandoned us. You abandoned me.
Oh.
I guess having a friend wasn't that bad after all.
Oh.
Now, on that note, that's something that I had completely forgotten about.
Yeah.
But since I was looking through the art files, I do actually have an illustration of what Dirk looks like underneath the mask.
Oh yeah.
Like all the mechanics and everything.
Because this is when we kind of revealed that they're robots, right?
Yes.
We had alluded to it before.
Because there's always that implication that, oh, maybe they just have a face behind there. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
No, they're fully mechanic, and it's something that I wanted that moment to be like, oh. Even despite one of the more emotional moments in the game,
This is delivered by a robot.
So we have found them at last. The relics.
So, Dirk did get the third one out of the floating continent. Are we gonna get them out?
Let's try to break the relics out of these cages while we can. If we can make it out of this ship with just one relic.
Okay. But let's hurry. More pirates could show up at any second now.
Indeed, we need to be quick. Let's crack these cages open, Master Otus.
They look pretty secure, these cages here.
Get out of there.
Not even a fully upgraded Alphonse shotgun can make it.
Fully upgraded Alphonse.
I'm so happy with the shader that Henrik made for this.
Yeah. Turned out great.
Yeah.
That's custom. That's custom code.
Yeah.
These cages sure don't break easily. Alphonse, do you know anything about these things? How we can break them?
It is as I feared. The cages are too heavily reinforced. We will need to get the key from its custodian, and the only one who would have the keys to the relics would be Captain Malmstrom himself.
The tank.
Crud. There's something about that time where we were like, we can't make them say anything harsh.
Yeah.
Crud was the best we could come up with that didn't feel that it would be.
Yeah. I don't even know if crud is something that you say in.
You can say crud.
Yeah, I guess what dialect we're using is American, right? But I think there's some English.
Not necessarily. It depends on where we are. For example, there's that particular moment that we don't have to mention right now where someone says maths.
Yeah.
Because that is the correct English grammatical way that you write that.
Oh.
And a lot of people are like, "Ha, a misspelling."
Yeah.
It's like, nope.
No, it's actually.
We've stuck to the correct
right
written way to do everything throughout the game. But still, it's like I think there's often an expectation that the characters should just say like Americanism sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, we can't defeat Molstrom. I saw him in Advent. I'm a great fighter! But I mean, I'm not going up against Molstrom after that.
Take heart, my friends. Yes, this is ill news, but in Advent, Molstrom had a relic. Certainly the relics are all here. So he should be considerably weaker compared to when we met him in Advent.
On the opening.
The odds are still not in our favor, but if there was ever a time when we could defeat him, it would be now.
It is time.
Otus is determined. GULP.
All right, I'm in. We gone up against terrible odds before. In fact, I prefer it this way. An hour from now, I'll be able to tell everyone that Twig, the world's greatest spider, defeated Captain Molstrom, the scourge of the skies.
Yes.
I believe Captain Molstrom's cabin lies at the end of this corridor. Whatever happens, this will likely be the last time we fight together. Win or lose, our struggle ends here.
That is such a intense line.
Yeah, it's like, it's the end of the game, folks. Or is it?
Or the end of their existence.
Lives.
You should both prepare yourself for that.
But that's kind of what we wanted people to believe, that this was, you know, the final skerfuffle.
Skerfuffle, yes.
And then surprise people when it wasn't.
So this, a lot of people already know this, but so we built up this fight a lot, but it actually exists.
Yeah.
The fight against Molstrom is actually a fully coded fight.
Have you ever shown footage from the fight?
I don't think we have.
He's so strong that he I don't know, maybe we should show that footage at next anniversary.
Oh yeah, we could do that. So I'm gonna enter the room.
Molstrom.
So, just to demonstrate, if you look along the walls here, there's some very precarious looking metal grates with holes in them. The way this fight would operate is that Molstrom is so strong, he can destroy his own room and rotate it around you. And you have to, depending on which direction gravity is coming from, those walls will start caving in, and spikes will come out of them.
But not just that, you animated, you know, the hanging drapes, the anchors on the sides. You animated them all to shift gravity whenever he did.
Yeah, so all of those things, if they look kind of plain in the background, it's because all of that will be fully animated and just dangling around as Molstrom, like a freaking insane person, will just grab onto the ceiling and just rein in the wood and turn the room with him.
Yeah.
Like, we wanted to show this guy as the most powerful thing you could ever come up against. But then we had a realization. On one hand, it was very difficult to do. On the other, it didn't make much sense because Molstrom is supposed to be invincible.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be this imposing force that you just cannot defeat. And if you go in there and, you know, little owl guy with his friends comes in and he can just, like, beat up Molstrom, that seemed
odd.
Yeah, exactly. We had kind of the same problem with in the Savant Ascent, with the samurai being the final boss, who is also immortal.
Yeah, even the song itself is like, he cannot be defeated.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you don't.
Yeah.
Basically, that's...
Alright, time for one of the most important scenes in the game that we had been building up to for 8 years, I think. It's really him.
Alphonse is getting cold feet.
Maelstrom! What's this? Did the guards let you in? Prepare yourself. We've come to defeat you. You're here to fight me. That's right.
Twig is such a badass.
We got Mick Lauer in to dub that one lap.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can at least entertain me until the relics are finished charging. Then I will... And then what the title of the game has been building towards this entire time. I guess you can do this one.
All right. No going back after this. We nabbed them.
Alarm! The relics have been stolen! Get them! Whole army's out. Tell him the Owlboy has stolen the relics!
The title!
Repeat! The Owlboy has stolen the relics! What? That little pest double-crossed me! You! He sent you to distract me! I'm going to destroy all 3 of you!
Gah!
Master Kenny? Alphonse, don't stand the chance! Just get out of here fast!
Geddy Lee! You came at the right time.
Play us out.
I'm glad I caught him. That was a long fall. Stay safe, Otus. Don't follow me.
Master Otus? Who goes there?
Oh,
There he goes.
it's time for the final act.
Otus? Otus, you're awake. I guess you can do Getty.
Okay. Otus, you're awake. I'm sorry, Otus. I should never left you guys alone. As soon as I got back to Ellie, I knew I'd made a mistake. That Twig guy, he was just being used by the pirates. I knew that, but I think I wanted someone to blame after Advent. I made my way up to the pirates and went looking for you straight away. Stole a pilot chopper and everything.
This is kind of what I was talking about during the Tetris question
Yeah.
segment, where Getty is very resourceful, but it's like, I don't know if being able to hijack a pirate helicopter means that you're good at Tetris.
Exactly. I'm glad I made it in time. Maelstrom seems furious. But enough about this. Twig, Alphonse, Otus is awake. Get in here.
Welcome back, Otus. You've been asleep for so long now.
I want to talk about what to do next, guys. Otus, Alphonse says he saw someone fly off with the relics.
Indeed. And that someone went flying past Mesos.
We haven't figured out who took the relics yet, but
But whoever took them must have been behind all of this. The pirates were being fed information about the relics. Someone told them to search in Veli and in Advent. It would seem that whoever led them to attack these settlements have now finally gotten the relics they wanted. So the pirates were just being used? Serves them right! Indeed. But whoever did this must have expected Malmström to retaliate. They must be planning to use the relics soon. With the power of the relics, they might even escape Malmström's wrath.
is there any way we can get them before that happens?
I don't know. It's impossible to fly past the mesosphere. We could find... We would have to find some way to travel up there. Well, I could not process that word. With Advent destroyed, finding the ship won't be easy. Well, let's start looking. There's got to be some way.
There's one more thing, Otus. Don't be too disappointed when we get to Valley. Things have changed a bit. Okay.
All right.
I
So
think actually that's a pretty good place to leave.
yes, I think this is a good place to stop because that means on next year's stream, we will be doing the most emotionally important part of the game.
Damn.
And it's a good tease for next year.
So, yeah.
Well,
365 days.
we have now...
Come back.
Well, we have been streaming now for about 2 hours. So it is. It seems like a good time for this.
Yeah.
Terribly sorry, everyone. We have to save this for next year, unfortunately. So I am going to pause our window for now. And I just have to very casually make sure that that is stopped. There we go. Window capture's off. And yeah. All right, everyone. I think that marks the end of the Owlboy 8th anniversary livestream. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. This time we had a little bit more time to prepare than usual.
Yeah.
So
We even got the chance to go to Japan.
We got the chance to go to Japan. We got to show Otus in Japan and me in Japan and just Japan in general. And yeah, we left some small nuggets of information for you for what's going to be happening next year.
We forgot to eat cake.
We forgot to eat cake.
So next year we will be eating double cake.
All right, that's on the record now. So for next year, we're going to have to eat 2 cakes. And yeah, I'm glad you could all join us for tonight. And we will see you on the Owlboy 9th anniversary. Thank you so much for supporting us, and thank you for being here.
Have a good night.
We'll see you next time. Bye!